Welcome to Salt of the Earth Farm Stories.
He said, you've got two choices, either get out or carry it out in the box. He said, I can't give you any more, it'll be toxic and it'll kill you. That was a hard blow, I can tell you.
We're back with part B of this remarkable conversation with my great uncle, David Grigg. A true gentleman with a life shaped by hard work, curiosity and community. This time, we start with something close to many hearts, his very first car, a Hillman Minx. Before shifting gears into the bigger story of horsepower versus tractor power and the arrival of machines that changed farm life forever, Uncle David recalls welcoming tractors to the farm, including his first, a McCormick Deering, and on steel wheels. But this episode also takes a more reflective turn. We hear about a tough and emotional decision having to leave the farm due to allergies caused by cow hair. A decision that clearly wasn't easy, and one that shaped the next chapter of his life. From there, David heads into town and takes on a variety of jobs, including a retirement that didn't quite stick. That led to a 10-year stint gardening at a TV station, BTV6, where, unsurprisingly, he became involved in far more than just the gardens, and often found himself right inside the studios. And I personally have him to thank for getting me started in TV at just 14 years old. We also travel far beyond town limits with stories of a trusty VW Kombi, adventures across the country, School of the Air in the Northern Territory, life on outback stations, and a shared love of national parks with Auntie Vera. And of course, there's a brilliant yarn about Gertie the tractor, sold, missed, tracked down, and finally brought home again. This is part B of the story of David Grigg. It's full of heart, humour, and unforgettable memories. Let's go. Now, your first car was a Hillman Minx, is that right?
Yes, 1949, NS 900 was the rego on it.
Oh, do you remember the rego?
Yeah, and we had that quite a few years. Then we traded that and got a 63 Hillman Minx. That was a magnificent car, that one.
Was that brand new then?
Yeah, it was beautiful. So we had that then till when Dad died, and we had to take Mum. It got a bit tight with us and the kids and Mum in the Hillman, so that I traded that on our first Holden, second-hand Holden. Yeah.
What sort of Holden was that?
FE.
Right.
Yeah.
And Uncle David, you were involved in countless committees, I believe. The hall, school, youth club, the church, the rec ground, the footy club. Just to
Yeah, the
name a
footy
few.
club was the junior football. Yeah, so because Lee used to play in the junior team. He wasn't much good, but he used to play in it. And
Don't spoil it now. I thought he was a really good player.
I used to enjoy that. And when I used to come back from work at night, I'd come out a bit early and help Jack Maher. He used to coach the kids, and I'd help him coach the kids.
But there was also the hall and the school and the
Yeah,
church.
that's right. Yeah, and well, in those days, look, you had to support your local things. There was nobody else that, you just couldn't get enough people to do it.
Now, at this point, I just want to shout out to your beautiful granddaughter, Anna, who I've got a lot of information from
Yes,
Anna, and an amazing book she wrote on you and Auntie Vera.
that's right.
So thanks to Anna.
Yes.
Now, you and Pop were caught between horsepower and tractor power. Pop wanted to stick with the horses, and you had a love of tractors.
Yeah, well, look, I loved the horses, but I hated working them in the summertime with the heat and the flies. Like when you went to yoke them up, back them up, pick up the chains and put on their aims and all that, and they'd be kicking at the flies, and you had to be careful you didn't get it, and I hated it, because I just didn't think it was. I felt sorry for the horses, and that's why I wanted a tractor. So anyway, eventually Dad agreed that I could get one, so I bought a second-hand McCormick Deering 1530 off chap at Cardigan, and it had steel wheels on it with the spade legs, and had a spare set of wheels with rubber tyres on it, so you could swap over whatever you wanted. And I was happy as it.
When would you use the steel wheels?
I used them at home, but when Vera's dad got cancer, he couldn't work his farm, so I used to plant his spuds for him up there. So I had to take the steel wheels off and put the rubber tyre ones on so I could drive it up to Clark's Hill to do the work up there.
That's what a good son-in-law would do.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
This transition into tractors, did it feel good?
Felt marvellous. I was a very happy boy after I had the tractor.
So you're living in this small 3-bedroom house. You've got 4 kids. You eventually had to leave the farm due to some dairy allergies, is that right?
Yes, unfortunately. I had asthma very bad, and I used to go to the doctor about it, and he said, look, I'll have to put you onto the allergy doctor. He was in the same building. He did 38 tests before he found out what was causing it. And it was the cow hair, duck feathers and goose feathers.
Really?
But we didn't have those, so that didn't matter. But it was the cow hair. And, milking 60 cows a day, twice a day, with your head, getting the hair, washing the tits and putting the cups on, you couldn't get out of it. So I had the injections every day for 2.5 years. And every 3 months he'd up a bit stronger. Then it come at 2.5 years, he said, you've got 2 choices, either get out or carry it out in the box.
Oh.
He said, I can't give you any more, it'll be toxic and it'll kill you.
Uncle David.
Yeah, that was a hard blow, I can tell you.
This was very tough because you had a love and passion for farming and for bungaree.
Yeah. So for 4 days, Mum and I sweated over it, and I could see, I'd have to do something. So that's when I leased the bill. I didn't want to sell it because I thought if the doctors are wrong, I've lost it. He leased it for 5 years, and I got a job in Ballarat at the machinery place, McCormick Deering, at Howard Lockett and Sons, selling tractors and trucks. And for the first week, I had to work in the workshop and learn how to assemble some of the machinery and all that, how to fix it. And then I went out on the road selling.
So you've worn a few hats, Uncle David, from international harvester sales rep to Holden to selling farms with Crawford Dowling. Tell us a bit more about that journey.
Well, when I left Howard Lockett's, I went to MG Taylor Car Sales, which was just around the corner in Mayor Street. They were selling Holdens and Chevs and Pontiacs. And I went for about nearly 3 years, and then I heard that General Motors were going to take the dealership off them for Holdens. And I thought, well, that's no good. You can't make a living just selling Chevs and Pontiacs. Wise Brothers were then allotted Holden dealership. So I rang them and they said, right, you can start straight away. So I started at Wise Brothers, and I was there for 10 years. And then I felt like I wanted to change, and that's when I started at Crawford Dowling, selling land estate, farm properties, and I had 10 years there.
Right, so you still had that connection to farms then.
Yeah, and that was really good. I enjoyed them all. When you're on sales, you've got to work long hours, and I was doing up to 90 hours a week, because you've got to get figures when you're a salesman. And I'd be networking on the phone every night, ringing up everybody to, let them know where I was. Anyway, I decided in the finish it was time I retired. So I retired from Crawford Dowling, and I was only home for about 3 months, and what am I going to do? I was caught up with all the work at home I hadn't done. So this job came advertised in the paper for a gardener at an institute in Ballarat, a big garden. And I thought, who the heck would have a big garden in Ballarat to want a gardener? So I rang the employment place, and he said, look, I'm not supposed to tell you where it is. As a matter of fact, the bloke at the employment bloke, he knew me. And he said, David, look, he said, I'll tell you now, between you and me, it's at Channel 6. And he said, there's heaps of people in for it. So what do you reckon? I said, well, yeah, you better put my name in. He said, all right, we'll put your name in. So eventually they rang for an appointment, and I had to go on a Saturday morning. And there was people in front of me waiting there too. And so he said to me, when could you start if we pick you? I said, I could start straight away. So that day, on the Saturday, I hadn't been long home, phone rang. He said, when can you start? I said, straight away. He said, right, you can start on Monday.
Now, this was at BDV6, and it was a big garden and yard.
It was 5 acres.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why they wanted a gardener. And I was handyman as well.
Yeah.
And that's...
and photographer.
Yeah, and well, then you rang me one day to say, look, Uncle David, I could get work experience in the holiday. I said, I'll ask for you. And they said, yes. So they told you, and you came and you enjoyed it. And they wanted to keep you straight away. I said, look, you haven't finished school. You better talk to his parents. So they did, and you finished your school. And then you came, and they were wrapped with you. And so they, you was on camera working out with the reporter guys, weren't you, for a start?
I think of you often, Uncle David, for giving me that start. And I was 14 when I first did that first week of work experience. And someone else I want to thank was John Mullen, he's an amazing man.
Oh, yes.
He was the news director, and he would
Yeah.
have me in every school holidays,
Right.
and until I was ready to then start full time.
Yeah.
But no, thank you for giving me that start. And
It
what's your fondest memory of those TV days?
was a fantastic place to work, Darren. I really enjoyed it. There was always something different to do, apart from gardening and handyman. I used to do a lot of outside broadcasts, say the Stall Gift and Ballarat Cup and all those sort of things.
Well, the Stall Gift was my first paid gig.
They would have to hire extra equipment to do those outside broadcasts. They did have their own outside broadcast van, but they had to get extra equipment. So I'd have to go to Melbourne to pick up extra stuff from either Channel 7 or 9, whatever, and to take it up to Stall or the races, wherever they needed it. After that, I'd have to take it back down again to Melbourne. Yeah, it was always something different to do, and I really enjoyed it. And then I used to have to go to all their different relay stations. So I'd have to go to all those and clean up the rubbish on all those too. Sometimes I would leave home at 6 in the morning. I would get perhaps 3 places done in the day, and I'd have my sandwiches driving along. So I kept myself very busy, but I liked it.
And this was in between maintaining the gardens and the lawns,
Yeah.
and still involved in some of the studio stuff as well.
Yes, I did. When Fred Farger was running the morning show, he'd have different guests there, and I would be there to take photos of them while they were talking to Fred. Yeah, that was an interesting thing too. Very good.
Live TV was stacks of fun, wasn't it, back then? There was that live pressure and the countdown, and
Yeah.
we miss that these days, but I've got great memories of being in the studio. And
Oh, yeah. It was. Look, I really enjoyed those days there. Really did.
there was lots of clever people behind the scenes too. I know you had a close relationship with a lot of the techs.
In fact, when it was too wet to work outside in the garden, the techie blokes would get me to come in and help them, and they taught me a lot on how to perhaps help to make a circuit board or whatever. And look, they were tremendous. And so every time it was too wet to work outside, they'd get me to come in and help them.
Mm.
And I really enjoyed it.
And they still ask about you today. I know you were at a reunion not
when
long
they
ago.
had their reunion a few years back, they invited me to come to that. They were wonderful.
And at one point, Uncle David, there were 3 D Griggs working at BDV6.
That's right. There was you, Darren, Denise on reception, and me.
Yeah,
And that was pretty unusual. 3D Griggs at the one time.
it was.
Yeah.
So how long did you have at BDV6?
I was there 10 years.
And you had a passion for photography too. How did that begin?
Yeah, well, when I was at Wise Brothers, Olive Ritchie from Dean. She was in the camera club, and I said, I like taking photos, and slides and all that. And she said, you should join the camera club. And I said, what do I do? She said, you have to be nominated in those days. So Olive nominated me, and I got in okay, and it was the best thing that ever happened. So I really enjoyed it. I'm still a life member there now, and I've been a member now for, 56 years.
Wow, I've heard you're a life member. Congratulations. And you and Auntie Vera travelled Australia various times in a VW Kombi.
That Kombi was fantastic.
And I think you did over 300,000 kilometres in it.
We went around Australia nearly 3 times in that, and then we traded it on a Toyota Hiace, what they call the short bonneted vehicle with the motor out the front. We had that 7 years and did another quite a few 100,000 in that. When we turned 80, because Vera used to teach kids on School of the Year at the stations we used to visit, and when she turned 80, she decided she was going to give that away because the School of the Year was computerised and the kids could tell them what to do and what she could. So she thought it was time she give it away. So that's when she retired, and we give it away then. And
but you did a lot of work on those stations, didn't you? While Auntie Vera was teaching,
she used to tutor the kids on School of the Year, and I used to work anywhere on the property they wanted me to do it, and it was great. And
this is up on the Tamanai track, in one of them in particular?
Yeah, the one up to Tamanai track was 400 k's or 300 miles from Alice Springs, and for the first 10 mile the road was quite good, and I thought, I'd heard that much about the Tamanai truck, how bad it was, but I thought, what's wrong? This is good. Then we got to this first petrol station that we pulled in and got fuel, and from there on right up to where we had to go to Alice Springs, the 400 miles. You got no idea. It was really rough. So we got up there. We drove in. It was 70 k's in off the road, off the Tamanai into the homestead.
His driveway was 70 k's long.
Yeah, and so on the way in there would be washouts, and you had to be careful. So we eventually got into the homestead, and they said, "How did you get in? Getting stuck in the waterways?" I said, "Well, I was lucky enough to see them, and I took it very, very careful, and I got through them." So anyway, before I went out to the van, she said, your van's got a bit of a lean on it over there. So we had a look, and she's flat on one wheel. So we must have picked up a tree root or something.
Yeah. Was that in the Kombi or the Hiace?
Yeah, that was the Kombi.
I've got fond memories of that Kombi. You'd roll into our place there when you'd come and visit us, and they've got a unique sound.
Oh, it was a great old vehicle. Yeah, we had that 27 years.
Well, I've got my Beetle that you might remember, my little Volkswagen Beetle. Yeah. I've had that for 40-something years, and I've got that on the road now. I'm driving that around home in Wodonga, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's got that same sound.
Yeah, that's right.
I love it.
Yeah, our Kombi was the last of the air-cooled.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they went to the water-cooled motor then after that, and they were much better, I believe.
About 1970, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You and Auntie Vera also loved exploring national parks up in the Northern Territory.
Yes, when you was doing those stations with the Vera children, the kids, you had 6 weeks at each place. Then there'd be holidays. So while the holidays were on, we would then go and explore some of the local national parks before we went to the next one. That was fantastic.
Mm. I've just had a couple of weeks up around Alice on some stations doing podcasts.
Enjoyed them very much, Darren.
Good. Thank you. Now, Uncle David, how many grandkids?
Oh, gee, grandkids.
I've had a little count up for you.
There must be 10 or 11.
9 I've counted. Would that be right?
It probably is right, but it's great grandies, 10 or 11 of those too.
Well, I've done a little count up, thanks to your granddaughter, 12.
12
great grandkids.
And there's another one on the way.
Ah.
Gus and Maddie are expecting another one.
Oh, that's exciting.
Uh,
Oh, you should be proud.
I'm very proud.
Good on you. Uncle Dave, let's go back to farming again. Farming is the backbone of country life, isn't it?
Certainly is.
And was there a strong sense of community back then when you were growing up?
Yes, I guess there was, with that, being a member of all those committees. You had to do your bit for all the different things that was going on.
They were tough times. I've heard stories of you out collecting firewood on a horse-drawn lorry. What do you remember of that?
Yes, we used to go out after harvest, out to the forest of Bulwarra and cut down the trees marked by the ranger that was okay to cut down, and we'd cut that into 5 foot length and stack it up around the stumps to let it dry, and we'd go out after harvest with the 5 horses in the wagon and cart 10 tonne of wood home a load with the horses, 5 horse team.
Would it ever get knocked off, what you'd cut?
No, in those days, no. Different now.
Yeah, yeah. And Bungaree is known for its great spud soil, isn't it?
It is. A bit of a contentious thing, that, because there's a mixture of soils between red soil, chocolate soil and grey soil. When the potato buyers, if you've got grey soil, they'll always cut you back in the price. Red soil, you got the top price. Chocolate soil, a little bit less than the red soil.
Is that right?
But we had a little bit of red soil at home, but mainly chocolate soil. We had one paddock of grey, that was the flat paddock, but we didn't often grow in that one because it used to get too wet.
And we heard before you love tractors, but you started a collection then, didn't you?
Yes, I did, and I finished up with 5 altogether and 2 stationary engines. That was my retirement hobby. I called that my retirement fund.
And you've got a great story about Gertie the tractor. She was a 1931 Cleatrack?
Cleatrack 15.
Cleatrack 15?
Yes.
You bought Gertie, you sold Gertie, but then you bought again. Can you tell me about that story?
Yes. Bill bought that Gertie in the first place for the farm, and he hated the damn thing.
You'd go back to
He could never start it. He was crank-handled, of course, and I'd go along and I'd give it a couple of pulls and I'd start it every time. That used to annoy Bill. So
it was easier for Pop to go and saddle up a horse.
So he eventually sold it, and this bloke at Nearham South bought it way down Nearham South. So he knew nothing about them, so he wanted Bill to go down and start him off, and Bill said, no way. So I said, I'll go. So I went down on the train, he picked me up at Melbourne, and we drove out to Nearham South to where he lived, and I was there for a week and helped him start it up, and then we showed him how to service it and jack it up and change the rollers and all that and grease them, and then we had to cut down a few trees to get some logs so we could try it out. So we cut down a couple of big trees, and then we used Gertie to pull those logs up a landing onto a ramp for when the trucks had come to roll them onto the trucks. Yeah.
Right.
And it used to pull 2 logs up there, no worries at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you kept in touch with the person who bought it, didn't you?
Yes. Bill and I were down at Warburton, and we went for a drive one day, and I saw a sign near him south. So I said to Vera, we'll go down there and have a look and see if we can find somebody that knows heck. And so went down and pulled up at the service station, and I said, do you know of a fella here at Nearham South called Heck Cowden? Oh, yes, he said, yeah, he's still here. So anyway, Vera and I drove up to this address up there and knocked on the door, nobody home. So there was people lived opposite, so I went across and knocked on the door, and they were home, and I said, I told them who I was and why I was there, wanted to see Heck Cowden. And they said, look, he's away for the weekend. But I said, he bought a tractor off us, and when I come out back to Vera, she said, look, up the yard, there's a tractor up there covered over with a tarp, and you can see the tracks sticking out underneath.
And that was Gertie.
So I went over to the house and I said, look, do you reckon he'd mind if I pulled the cover off to have a look? Oh, he'd be wrapped, I reckon. So I went up and took the cover off, and sure enough, it was Gertie.
In good condition?
Well, it was a bit rough. He'd put a homemade dozer on it, and it looked pretty rough. They told him I'd called, and Within a week I had a 10-page letter from him, and look, we corresponded every year for, I think it was about 9 years, and he still couldn't part with Gertie, because I said, when you finish with it, I want it. So in the finish, he rang up and he said, righto, he said, I've finished with Gertie, what are you going to do with it? I said, heck, all I want to do is restore it and take it to shows. Well, he said, in that place, you can have it. But if you're going to use it to do any work, no, I wouldn't let you do it. So that's when Poppin and them were taking machinery down to the field days at Warrigal. They arranged for them, we go up to Heck and pick up the tractor. So we did that and brought it home on Bill's truck. And he said, bringing this whole thing home. Ooh. And I said, look, Bill, it's fantastic.
Pop had a love for horses right to the end.
Oh, he did. He loved his horse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I did too. But I just didn't like working them in the summertime.
That wraps up Part B with my conversation with Uncle David. From farm life and tractors to town work, TV, travel, and stories that stretch right across the country. This chapter gives us a deeper look into a life shaped by curiosity and getting involved wherever he landed. In Part C, we slow things down and reflect. We look back on what really mattered, the moments that stayed with him, and the values that's carrying him through nearly a century of life. I hope you'll join me for this final part of this special story.